Hello, welcome to Rickard's Arms and Armor. Today we're going to make some crossbow bolts. For materials, we're going to use a carbonated beverage bottle. For the fletchings, the arrow shaft is going to be made out of a dowel rod. Arrowhead isn't much of an arrowhead, we're just going to use it as a counterweight and to stiffen up the front of the arrow or bolt. This pipe has the same outer diameter as the bolt shaft itself. And for drawing out fletching designs, we got a Sharpie and some paper. For tools, I have my multi-tool here. That's going to be a knife, a file. For cutting the pipe, we've got a hacksaw. And we're going to use a string to measure out our bolt lengths. So I'll be right back when I've got that done. So I've marked out where I'm going to cut on the bottle. Try and cut where the bottle's flat on the side. And it's already marked on this side with a kind of groove. Marked where I'm going to cut the pipe. And I've marked where I'm going to cut the arrow shafts. To do that, you just fold the string evenly. And I'm going to cut out 4, but I could have cut out 5 and it would have been fine. These are my bolt fletchings right now. I'm going to explain this part when I get to it. So I cut my plastic bottle into a sheet of plastic that has a natural curve to it, and I cut out an arrow fletching template and just traced it out right on top of there. I'm experimenting with this, but I traced it out in such a way that the fletchings should have a natural curve to them. So we'll get some nice spin through the air. Cut out all the dowel rods. They're not even, so I'm going to fix that in a minute. I'm going to start planning on how long these are going to be. I think that'll be okay. Next, I'll cut these out, finish them up, and then we'll start cutting on the dowel rods so that we can actually fit the pipe onto the end of this. And we'll probably be close to finished after that. Be right back. I just shored up my bolt shafts and cut out the rest of my arrow fletchings. For those little rectangular bits at the bottom, I'm using those as tabs to kind of, so I can glue it on easier. For that I've got super glue and some sandpaper. Doesn't matter what grit. Well, the finer stuff is probably worse. Go to the 150. So for these, you're just going to sand the little bottoms of the tab and then just glue it on. Might be a little painstaking, I'll figure it out. And I just cut off a bit of pipe that I'm going to use as my arrowhead, or just the weight at the front. This feels a little light, so I might go back around with a nail and just tap it through so it's a little more hefty. And I'll come back. No, I won't come back. I'll talk about this now. So for this, you're just going to cut down or sand down the arrow shaft to fit the inner diameter of the pipe. And that's really it, and you're just going to push it on through. And I'm just going to use the front of the shaft as the arrowhead itself. I'm not trying to hunt with this. I'm just going to use it for target practice and stuff. So I'm gonna cut that down. I'm gonna sand these, and then I'll get back to you. Okay, so I've got the piece of pipe on the end of the bolt. Now that I've got it, it feels like it's gonna be okay, but you know, that's very close to the middle, which, I don't know. I might put a nail in the bolt head later, but we'll see how they fly when I make a crossbow to use these with. And I've started gluing up. Focus. Yeah. I've started gluing up these, and I think it's gonna work just fine. So all you do is sand those tabs, and then super glue them on one at a time. Keep in mind that you're gonna have a string, or a bolt, the string going through here, so make sure the fletchings are out of the way. And I think that's about it. I'll finish this up and show y'all what it looks like. Okay, this looks done to me. Okay, let's start with the arrowhead. I think it'll be okay. I might add weight later to, the others. But this looks fine to me. I just domed it over with a file. Afterwards, you leave a little bit of wood up above the ring of metal, and then just dome it over, and then I went over it again with super glue, and I super glued the whole thing on there. For the fletchings, these things are going to be real durable. I don't know how much resistance they're going to get flying through the air. They should be fine. I've got kind of a twist on there. It's not as good as I wanted it to be, but it's there. And then, last but not least, I did the knock, the last part. Did that last with just a file. Just, for your own safety, don't glue yourself to everything in the house. Because I almost did that. Figured out there is no way not to get super glue on yourself doing this. So just be careful. Don't go to the hospital because you got your hand super glued to itself. When you're buying arrow shafts, make sure that all the wood grain is going in the same direction and not kind of pushing off to one side or the other. And if you do buy one, make bolts out of it, because you can find sections of straight grain within the arrow shaft and just use those sections to make bolts. So it's kind of what I did here. I was planning to make an arrow out of that, but I'm doing research on how to make them super cheap and effective. So yeah, I'll I'll make the rest, and the next video is probably going to be a crossbow to shoot these things.